about how would you describe your musical style?
So I guess essentially pop, rock, alternative.
Does anybody draw comparisons to famous artists that they think have a similar style to you?
There's a couple of people I've been compared to, but I can't actually remember their names, which is no good. So, yeah.
Was it Paul Weller?
No, that wasn't one of them. But I do remember you saying it was a bit Paul Weller-like.
I mean, we found Martin came in for an interview. He then kindly did the big festival with us at Weybridge, the Jubilee Festival. And I remember we had a group of ladies standing by me at the time, and you'd done a couple of your own songs, originals, and you went into Purple Rain.
Oh yeah.
And the lady next door to me held my hand. She said, "Oh my goodness," she said, "it's like being at Glastonbury," which I thought was a lovely compliment, which was great. So thank you. Tell us about how you got started, Martin. What was the first instrument that you had?
So the first instrument I had was a keyboard. So that would have been when I was maybe 6 or 7.
Wow, that's young.
Yeah, I'm sort of looking at my mum. With my mum in the photo.
Hello, Mum.
Hi, Mum. Yeah, so possibly 6 or 7. It was like a tiny little bon tempo thing, and I think one of the first things I remember was learning the EastEnders theme tune. Because
Martin's doing the drum beat.
That was it. Not the melody, just the drum beat. Yeah, at the beginning. So I learned to play by ear basically. So I just kind of heard it, and then I was like, oh.
So any of the famous electronic artists of the time that really influenced you as well?
Yes. So I kind of grew up with stuff like Jean-Michel Jarre. Also Jan Hammer.
The crowd liked that one.
Yeah, Jan Hammer as well. I think he did a lot of stuff in Miami Vice, which I probably wasn't allowed to watch. I remember the opening credits coming, and it was like, right, it's your bedtime now. Yeah, it's a little bit risky, but stuff like that. So it was keyboards really was the first love.
And then I think you moved, obviously, at some stage onto acoustic guitar.
So then I moved on to electric guitar, and I've got my older brother to thank for that, because he's about 3 years older than me, and he was, when I was about 12 or 13, he, being like 15, 16, he was sort of getting into kind of college years, and he was listening to Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and stuff like that. And I'd kind of be exposed to that, and I was like, yeah, that's really cool. So and just sort of picked up electric guitar.
So if we gate crashed your bedroom when you were a kid, a teenager, what posters would you have had on the walls?
I don't know. What was that?
Martin's other photos.
Lauren, cover you at the moment.
There were other posters on top of those posters. It was. Actually, I remember having an Oasis poster. They were kind of a big influence on me, being a teenager and listening to Oasis, and this just felt kind of in their music there was an optimism and a swagger. And
did that make you want to play live music yourself?
Yeah, they were kind of the ones I think that I thought, they look like they're having fun and a good time, and I want to do that, There'd been other bands that I've been influenced before that. Obviously Pink Floyd, which we mentioned. Metallica was another one I was into. I was Guns N' Roses. It's kind of a sort of heavier stuff, really. And I got into electronic music, dance music as well, so Prodigy and Orbital. So I kind of I've always liked both elements, and I think that comes through in the music that I do. I mean, obviously tonight I'll just be playing acoustic guitar, but the actual recorded versions have electronic elements in them, like synthesizers and stuff. So I think I don't. Yeah, for me it's about a mix of keyboards and.
Taking you back to when you were young with the acoustic guitar, did you take any lessons, or was you self-taught again with the acoustic guitar?
Self-taught, basically. I think I did actually have some piano lessons. My mum's nodding. I'm going to have to check everything with her first.
She's got the bill for you for the lessons.
I had some piano lessons when I was about 11, and I gave them up because Lauren will relate to this. Basically, I just wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I didn't really want to listen to anybody telling me what to do.
I think we mentioned this when he came on to Brooklands Radio. Our son is a singer-songwriter as well.
Yes,
our youngest, and our elder boy. We did put him through grades on the saxophone, and what we found was it became torturous for him. I mean, in the end, he got to grade 6, grade 7 when he was very young, so he climbed up very quickly, but didn't enjoy it. So when our youngest boy decided to pick up the acoustic guitar, we said, just play with it. Just, particularly with things like YouTube and stuff like that, you can self-teach nowadays. And that freedom, I think, to explore your own creativity is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that I would have probably seen what's called I think it's guitar tab, or tablature, basically, tab standing for tablature, which shows you, and I must have had a book which shows you like chord shapes and kind of basic stuff, where to put the fingers. But then from that, I think you're right. I think it's just kind of, you got to explore it, and you just move the fingers around and kind of try and find some just different stuff, and you kind of almost make up your own chords, and and it just kind of goes from there. And as I say, I think because I play for Mira as well, and that really helped me. I didn't feel the need to sort of have lessons and kind of like learn music theory, although I did do music at GCSE, but I only got a C actually, so I don't know what that says, but
I think I know that.
but so it's there's a little bit of learning, but mostly it was just kind of finding my own way around the instrument.
So when you're writing your own material, how does that work for you? Is it something in your head first that comes up? Is it a lyric that comes up, or is it a piece of music composition?
It's a bit of. It could be a lot of different things. I mean, it could be that I would sort of sit down at the piano, maybe. Primarily, it's probably the guitar, but sometimes I'll sit down at the piano and something falls out. It might just be.
Could it start with a riff or something like that first?
I don't know. Maybe just a bit of a riff, or just sort of plucking strings in a certain way and kind of going okay. But then sometimes it might be a lyric, or I just kind of have some thoughts which I'll have written down, and then try and put them into a melody and into the song. Maybe sort of have some words that I've kind of just, brainstormed or whatever, and then, this could kind of work with this chord progression I've got, that kind of thing. There's actually, it's not released yet, but at some point I'm hoping that there's a song that Lauren and I kind of wrote together, if she doesn't mind me saying. So Lauren had this kind of words that she'd written, and I just kind of was like, okay. And then I found this sort of old piece of music, this little kind of lick that I had.
Right.
And I was kind of like, just started humming this sort of melody along. I was like, actually, somehow it fitted perfectly. It wasn't even necessarily lyrics that she'd written, but more kind of like maybe prose, possibly. And it just fitted to make the sort of structure of this song. And there was another one where I had I think actually, I was listening to a piece of ambient sort of music, or electronic music, and in the car, and I just started kind of humming along, and this line kind of fell out like, calling out my name, and that basically became the second song that I released, nearly a couple of years ago now. I'll probably play that one tonight. So it's, the short answer is, there's loads of different ways that it might happen, really. So.
It's really, really tough now, isn't it, to make money in music?
It is. The industry has completely changed. In some ways, it's easier to get your stuff out because you don't necessarily need a record label, which is kind of what I've done. So all the stuff I've released has been off my own back. just through a distribution company, basically. But I think the flip side of that is that there's a lot more people who are able to release music.
Well, on average, probably everyone knows this, but there's about 60,000 tracks released a day.
Wow.
My goodness.
To give you an example, and that's in the United Kingdom. So
yeah, it is insane. Like you try and get on these Spotify playlists because that's obviously where a lot of it's at, and you know the amount of artists, singer-songwriters, bands, or whatever it might be, who are on these playlists who got very little kind of success. You know, kind of like myself, I guess, and. Yeah, it's just so many people out there, and so in one ways it's kind of easier, as I say, because you don't need to be going through a record company, and you kind of can do it DIY more. But on the flip side, there's more people doing it, and it's so very saturated. But I think as well, going back to what you're saying, Leanne, about making money, my brother's a musician as well. We kind of often sort of chat, and you know. He's being that bit older, he's kind of released stuff before me, and he said, like, you know, before I released my first single, he said, I think the success will be for you, just the fact that you've released it, you know, they don't expect to be making like loads of money. And I think it's because with Spotify, a lot of people, because obviously they can listen to music just at the flip of a couple of switches or whatever, you know, and the remuneration for artists is very, very little. I think it's so I have the first 4 singles that I released over the last couple of years. I have they're all up on Spotify and various other places like Amazon Music, and I get a report from my distributor, and every month, and I go through that, and it's like might be like sort of, I don't know, 500 streams on Spotify, and it maybe was like $1 or something. If I'm lucky.
Well, now you're very good because you're fairly self-sufficient when it comes to studio, because you've got your own studio. That's and right, you go from top to bottom right the way through to release. The other part then that's difficult, of course, is all the social media side, getting it up to date. Yeah,
it's that's probably the most difficult bit for me. It's a bit of a necessary evil, I guess. I think in any kind of, in this day and age, if you want to get exposure, you have to sort of embrace the social media. And I'm not. I would say I'm not the best at it. Really, it's there's obviously kind of people younger than me. I guess like your son, who's probably grown up with it a lot more and kind of a lot more au fait. I find too often I'm sort of pulling my hair out a bit when I'm trying to do a post on Facebook. But I mean, it's kind of got to be done, I guess, and but it does take a hell of a lot of time. So let's set you up to play 2 numbers for us, if we may.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So if you want to move your mic stand around, and all that.
So the first one is a track called "The Machine," which will be the first track from my upcoming EP. Obviously, we'll talk more about the EP.
Sure.
In a bit, I'm sure. So, yes, it's called "The Machine."
I love the way Mum's the first on the phone. Look at ready to take the pictures. Social media.
When you said on the phone, I couldn't see it. I thought maybe she was taking, I don't know, texting something. Oh God, he's starting to play this one. Yeah.
What's texting?
Out in the open, facing the weather, day by day. There's no precaution, no protection against the rain, and it comes without warning, like a black sky in the morning. And we all need an island in the sun, 'cause we were born to be dream, just a cog in the machine. Spend most of my life bent over backwards for other people. It's left me shaken. I've questioned my faith, but I still believe things will turn out as they should. Like the sunrise in the morning. Oh, and we all need an island in the sun. 'Cause we were born to be free, while run around and play. So run away from the ones who make you sit and stare all day. Had a lifeless scream, just a cog in the machine, a cog in the machine, a cog in the machine, or just a cog in the machine, just a cog. Love for the fires, the copper in their wires, the tread in their tires, you wear out and expire before you're used by the days.
Wow, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, thank you.
So what's the second one we're going to do for us now?
Okay, that's a very good point. So I'm going to put...
Make it up as you go.
That's it, yeah, here we go. So this one is called Calling Out My Name. So that was one I mentioned earlier, where I was listening to this piece of music in the car and this kind of melody came out. I hide away in my cave. Dark feels safe. I wanna stay, but no burning. It's a light bursting. Suddenly I'm awakening and I hear you. I can know you hear me too. For you. All the world can wait when you're calling out my name. There's no space between you and me, baby. There's so much I cannot see. We're connected by energy and light in glowing brilliance. We're one tonight, and I feel you. I can know you feel me too. For you, Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
And the new EP is out when, do you know?
So I remember that when I came into the studio, I think this was back in June. Just turn the reverb off. And excuse me. I know. I think you. I remember Leanne saying, "Come on, you got to get this done. You just got to get it done. You got to get it done." So I can actually say that all the tracks are now mixed and mastered.
That's amazing.
Mostly. No, all the music is now done. It's just basically finding out or working out a release date. Yeah.
This year, do you think?
Absolutely.
Funny. It's because it's quite. You get into the November-December period.
It's Christmas time.
Very
Christmas
difficult
song.
to release.
Christmas song.
There isn't a Christmas song on it. But
Would you like a little elf?
I'll be there.
No, so it's going to be either end of October or very early November, basically. So I just need to figure out the kind of best release strategy and that kind of thing. So, but the Machine, which is the first song that I played, will be the first track on the EP, and it will be the first one that I put out. So this is a 5-track EP. It's been a labour of love for most of this year. And I wanted to do... So I've released 4 singles already, as I mentioned, and I wanted to kind of do something a bit different. I think mostly because when you're releasing a single in the one song format, you want to have something quite immediate that's going to grab people. So maybe, or I've certainly tended to kind of gravitate towards pop rock, kind of quite immediate, sort of 3.5 minute songs, that kind of thing. Whereas with an EP, it's given me a bit of scope to try some different styles, I guess, and sort of let things hang out a little bit more. And there's one track that's over 5 minutes on there. There's a couple of 4.5. There's
which is unusual
different
nowadays,
styles.
because you notice tracks get shorter and shorter. I mean, on average, they're 2.5 minutes now. In many cases, 2.5 to 3.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've got a friend of mine who he does music kind of more as a sort of hobby, and he seems to write these songs which are 3 minutes, and I don't know how he does it, because I don't know. I suppose growing up on stuff like Pink Floyd, and I like the kind of the epic sort of long stuff. But anyway, so long and short of it is, I wanted to do an EP to kind of flex my musical muscles a bit, and yeah.
Well, good luck when it comes out.
Thank you.